From precisely what sort of role returning characters look set to play in their incoming movie outings, to which exciting potential projects may not actually be blasting onto our screens at all, it's time to dive into some of the Star Wars truths that have only recently come to light. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 recent Star Wars truths we've just found out. Number 10, ObiWan Kenobi Season 2 isn't in active development. Ewan McGregor hasn't exactly been shy about wanting to return once again to the role of the legendary Jedi Master for a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi goodness. Unfortunately for those angling to see more McGregor and Liam Neeson Force Ghost exchanges in a second season though, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy recently revealed that, while Ewan in particular really wants to do another, as she put it, Season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi is not in active development at this current moment in time. That being said, Kennedy was also quick to add that you can never say never because there's always the possibility. Lucasfilm clearly have their hands full with their already announced slate of upcoming TV shows and movies. But once they've got a few projects out of the way, Kennedy added that we'll turn our attention to that again maybe down the road. So from a certain point of view, Season 2 still isn't entirely off the table. Do you want a second season of Obi-Wan? Or would you rather Disney focus more on the Mandoverse or other sections of the timeline? Answers in the comment section down below, my Padawans. Number 9, Tamura Morrison was supposed to be in The Mandalorian Season 3. On the back of pretty much hijacking his own spin-off series, The Book of Boba Fett, most quite rightly assumed that said bounty hunter turned daimyo would return the favour and pop back up in the latest season of The Mandalorian alongside Din Djarin and the gang. Only instead of stopping by for a cameo on Tatooine or helping Bo-Katan Kryze and the other Mandalorians take back their homeworld, Fett was entirely absent from Season 3. That wasn't always the plan, however. According to Boba actor Tamura Morrison himself, he was actually originally set to appear in Mando Season 3, but nobody rang him. Those were his tragic words. Morrison would also explain during that same Supernova Comic-Con and gaming convention appearance that he felt his lack of Mandalorian appearance could have been down to cutbacks. With Dave Filoni's eventual New Republic movie looking as though it will tie in the various storylines that will have unfolded across the likes of Mando, The Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka though, hopefully this means we haven't seen the last of Morrison's much-loved badass on our screens. Number 8, Praetorian Guard weapons are stronger than lightsabers. Keeping with the most recent slice of Mandalorian goodness, a set of Star Wars characters that did actually make their return to the screen came in the form of the effortlessly cool Praetorian Guards, first seen taking it to Rey and Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. This Imperial variation of the red-armored elite warriors also brought with them quite the revelation, as they ultimately bested the valiant Paz Vizsla during Chapter 23, The Spies. With the threesome being able to pierce through the powerhouse Mandalorian's Beskar armor with absolute ease via their purple weapons, this ultimately highlighted a rather startling truth. Lightsabers, one of the most powerful melee weapons in the galaxy, had been shown struggling to cut through the ridiculously durable alloy on a number of occasions in The Mandalorian alone. The Praetorian Guards seen in Episode 8 were known to possess weapons that contained lethal ultrasonic generators and plasma filaments designed to parry lightsabers. So in other words, these Imperial protectors weren't to be messed with, and actually possessed melee tools more devastating than the ones sported by the Jedi and Sith. Number 7, Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie was never going to happen. For a while there, it very much looked as though Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige was in the process of developing his own Star Wars movie for Lucasfilm. Almost 4 years down the road though, said concept of a Feige Star Wars adventure now looks to have been completely dropped. In fact, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy even went as far as to state to IGN that there was never a Feige Star Wars project in the first place. Despite highlighting how the hugely successful producer was a massive fan of this universe, and she'd be all ears if Feige did come up with an idea for Star Wars, Kennedy was quick to explain how that had never really happened. And far from being an abandoned project, it just never really was one to begin with. So there you have it, after all that speculation and buzz, it turns out a Feige blast into hyperspace wasn't anywhere close to being in active development. Number 6, Ahmed Best wants this to be the beginning for Keller and Beck. The latest season of The Mandalorian also brought with it one of the most unexpected Star Wars comebacks of recent times, with Jar Jar Binks actor Ahmed Best returning to the role of Kelleran Beck during Din Grogu's flashbacks to Order 66 in Chapter 20, The Foundling. But rather than acting as a one-and-done appearance from the Jedi Master, who helped bring the little green legend to safety amidst the attack of the clones, it appears both the actor and minds behind the series aren't content with this being the end. Best would go as far as to state his truth during a recent interview with StarWars.com, saying that he wants this to be a new beginning for him in the galaxy far, far away, especially through Keller and Beck. And Jon Favreau in particular appears to share this feeling, claiming to Entertainment Weekly that with Beck now existing squarely in Star Wars canon, the mind behind The Mandalorian also wants to learn more about that character. So based on these comments alone, it looks like best time in the Star Wars sphere may be far from over. Could not have happened to a nicer dude. Number 5, Helen Mirren was being eyed to play an older Rey in a new movie set 6 decades after the sequels. Along with Dave Filoni's upcoming Mandoverse feature, 2 other rather intriguing movies were announced at this year's Star Wars Celebration Europe. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi flick, and Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's film centered around the rebuilding of the Jedi Order after the sequel trilogy. When it comes to that latter big screen project in particular, news of Daisy Ridley returning to the galaxy far, far away as Rey in Obaid-Chinoy's picture arguably sat as the most unexpected development of the entire weekend. But this wasn't always the plan, according to recent reports. Back when Damon Lindelof was still attached to write the project with co-writer Justin Britt Gibson, it was recently noted by industry insider Jeff Snyder on John Roca's podcast that the film was going to be set 60 years on from the events of The Rise of Skywalker. And rather than have Ridley return as Rey via some digital effects wizardry, the plan was to try and get Helen Mirren to play an older version of the Jedi Master, though the role wasn't officially offered to the legendary thespian before plans changed. This original screenplay would have also seen Rey focusing on training 2 Jedi, a man and a woman. Though much of that initial plan appears to have very much changed with the arrival of Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight as the film's new writer. Number 4, Pirates Vane will return in Skeleton Crew. With the upcoming Skeleton Crew TV show also set to go down during the New Republic era, the likelihood of a few familiar faces from the likes of The Mandalorian and other Star Wars series set in that time frame showing up seems quite high. And one name that has already been confirmed to be popping back up on the live-action small screen in that incoming new slice of Star Wars action was last seen fleeing his one-time Captain Gorian Shah during The Mandalorian's Chapter 21, The Pirate. It had already been rumoured that Marty Matulis could be set to reprise his Nikto role as the memorable pirate Vane in Skeleton Crew, but it was made official during some early footage from Skeleton Crew at Star Wars Celebration Europe that we certainly haven't seen the last of this particular piece of work. With Skeleton Crew's Amblin-style story set to centre around a group of youngsters as they attempt to get back home in this rather large and scary galaxy, having Vane act as one of the series' antagonists definitely makes a ton of sense. After all, Vane wasn't exactly all that fussed about booting kids out of a school so he could enjoy a drink in Chapter 17, The Apostate. So he'd likely get a kick out of making their lives a misery in this new coming-of-age story too. Number 3, why Bill Hader won't sign your Star Wars merchandise anymore. Finding himself thrown into the always surreal galaxy far, far away on the back of acting as one of the voice consultants for lovable droid BB-8 heading into The Force Awakens, Bill Hader soon learned about the dark side that can come with being linked to all things Star Wars. And if you're now wondering why the star of the likes of Inside Out, It Chapter 2, and Trainwreck turned you down the last time you begged him to scribble his signature on your replica little rolling astromech, then the actor finally had an answer for you during a recent Happy Sad Confused podcast appearance. According to Hader, after first being very much happy to sign whatever merch fans brought his way upon folks figuring out he had a small part to play in the creation of BB-8, a scenario involving someone forcing their kid to run over to him and ask for his signature on a BB-8 thing at 3 in the morning so they could sell it online left a bad taste in his mouth. So from that moment on, Hader decided to blanket those situations going forward, claiming he simply wasn't signing any of this S-word. And you can hardly blame him, to be honest. Number 2, various timeline revelations. The release of Lucasfilm's new Star Wars Timelines book, which was written by Amy Richow, Cole Horton, Kristen Baver, Clayton Sandell, and Jason Fry, has brought with it a ton of clarification as to precisely when certain events and moments went down during the sometimes rather confusing periods seen playing out in Star Wars movies, TV shows, video games, and beyond. Among these many intriguing truths behind when exactly specific moments occurred in the galaxy far, far away, it was confirmed that 28 ABY was the year in which Leia Organa was publicly acknowledged as being Darth Vader's daughter, leading to the breaking down of her relationship with her son, Ben. That was also the same year Luke Skywalker confronted Ben Solo, an event that resulted in the fall of the former's academy and the latter turning to the dark side. Elsewhere, it's also noted in the book that eventual Emperor Sheev Palpatine first joined the Senate back in 52 BBY, when he was 32 years old. Ah, younger days. Yes, he was once a kind of young man. In other words, he'd already spent 20 years slowly getting his claws into the Republic before his grand plan properly started to take shape from the Phantom Menace onwards. And in another rather cool revelation, Star Wars Timelines also explains how the Jedi Order's lightsaber architect droid Huyang is actually the oldest character in the galaxy, coming in at a whopping 25,000 years old. Number 1, Daisy Ridley won't be the lead in the new Star Wars movie. The announcement of Daisy Ridley once again stepping back into the galaxy far, far away for an incoming post-sequel trilogy flick had fans shaking around their lightsabers with glee. What wasn't entirely clear at the time of said reveal, though, was precisely how big the Rey star's role would be in the upcoming Charmin Obey-Chenoy feature. And while it has been said that the story will focus on Rey's attempts to rebuild the Jedi Order on the back of the events that went down in The Rise of Skywalker, industry insider John Roker was recently on hand to offer a surprising update on her part in this new tale. As he'd note during a recent edition of his podcast, Daisy won't necessarily be the lead, based on some of the rumors he's hearing in the business at this time. Instead, Ridley's Rey will act as the Luke or Obi-Wan sort of figure in this particular scenario as she rebuilds the Jedi Order. With Ridley all but confirmed as not being the central figure of Obey-Chenoy's new Star Wars big screen adventure then, fans will now likely begin wondering precisely which thespian will lead this next intriguing chapter in the story of the Jedi. And that's our list of any other recent Star Wars truths we've just found out. Well, let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you're into this sort of stuff, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic Star Wars articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you on this lovely day. Thank you for visiting this corner of the galaxy, and hopefully you'll stop by for another cup of blue milk in the future. Bye bye!